New details continue to pour in from the investigation into last weekend's London terror attack. We're now learning about the type of weapons the attackers used. Metropolitan Police released this photo of a pink-colored ceramic knife used in last Saturday's attack. They also say the group had a much bigger plan. Here to talk to me about this is CBS News security analyst Frank Cilluffo. Frank,
thank you, Don.
Today we saw a photo of one of the knives used by the attackers. Metropolitan Police say it's an unusual weapon, to say the least. What do you make of this?
You know, as to the actual knife itself, I'm not sure. Maybe they thought they could evade detection if they went through magnetometers or something of the like. I honestly don't have details. But it does provide some significant clues, because these knives aren't mainstays, so clearly you can get a better sense of who's selling them and for what purpose. So it could be useful in the actual investigation itself.
Easily traced. Not many pink knives out there that anybody has ever seen.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah. Not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
Frank, the attack could have been much worse. The alleged leader of the group, Karumba, tried to get a larger truck but failed. Tell us about that.
You know, I think what we're looking at here was that their intent to pull off a massive atrocity like we saw in Nice in 2016, which could have been so much more significant in terms of loss of life and casualties and the like. So I think that was the intent, and even the way they handled the van itself, which they ultimately were able to rent. I mean, they even put weights in there, rocks, gravel, and the like, to try to maximize the impact and blunt force when it hit someone. So sadly, tactically thought through to cause mass casualties, or as many casualties as they could. And I might note here, the response in about 8 minutes is quite significant here, because it seemed as if they had much bigger intentions, including the use of Molotov cocktails and the like, to continue sowing chaos. So this could have been as bad as it was. It could have been even worse had the authorities not moved in as quickly as they did.
Yeah, evidently they were planning on getting back to the van to use their petrol bombs, but they were killed before then. And also there's some speculation that the amount of gravel in the van was not only perhaps to make it heavier, but to kind of justify their need to rent it when they were doing that. The chairs, exactly, perhaps to convince their family that they were just moving furniture around. There's still a lot that we don't know about this. Exactly. London's police chief talked about the city, though, being a safe place. Knowing what we now know about these three attackers, is there something else authorities should be doing to prevent something like this happening?
You know, the bottom line is the intent is to get there before the bomb goes off, to be left of boom. And this is all about gleaning good intelligence as to indications, warning, intentions, plans, and the like. This is very difficult if you have a tight cell that's not reaching out. So you see sort of three different trends playing out here. You do have those that are directed by ISIS or other Islamist organizations, often trained, often have scar tissue in terms of battlefield experience, often more sophisticated in devising improvised explosive devices and the like. You have those that are inspired but not connected to any of these organizations, which account for a number of the incidents that we've seen across Europe right now. And then you've got a third category that's a bit of a hybrid of both. Those that may have some loose connection and may have networks of individuals they're working with, but not necessarily directed. So this makes for a huge challenge for law enforcement. Right now, the UK, and I might underscore here, they really are among the very best of the best in the counterterrorism business. But they've got a numbers challenge. They've got 3,000 people, and I'm sure that number's going to go up, that are of direct concern, over 500 investigations, and many of these individuals, including some that have acted recently, had fallen off the radar screen. So big challenge. You've got a data analytics issue here, but ultimately human intelligence, to me, is going to be the most significant tool in our counterterrorism arsenal.
That's really it. The Director of Homeland Security here in the U.S. said, if you knew what I know, you'd stay at home. But there have been untold numbers just here in New York of terrorist plots that have been thwarted because of intel, and also because of if someone sees something and they say something and it stops. So that's still very important. But let me ask you, how does a country move forward after going through a string of attacks like this?
You know, 3 attacks in under 3 months is quite significant. We all talk about how resilient the Brits are, and they are. They've been through tough times in history. But it is a significant threat. I think that we need to look at how, and there are inquiries going on as to how they can retool some of their capabilities. They probably do need more resources in terms of personnel, not just technology. They rely heavily on CCTV and other means, but they are understaffed. And when you have someone on 24/7 surveillance, that takes a number of people, and you can only have so many people on that radar screen. They just had an election. Obviously, these incidents and atrocities played into some of the outcome here. But one of the good things about the British system is that it's largely civil servants. It's largely professionals, other than some of the strategic issues at the very high level, such as the Home Secretary. And as I understand, Amber Rudd is staying in that position. Most of the day-to-day operations are driven by civil servants. So I think you're going to see a redoubling of the effort. I do think that the missing dimension of our terrorism statecraft is we need to really underscore the significance that ideology plays in all this. And it's not just shutting down websites. We need to do that. But we also need to push back. We need to expose it for what it is, ideologically bankrupt. And I think you'll see some greater efforts there in the United States, but also across Europe. The French are really moving pretty aggressively in this direction.
All right, Frank Cilluffo, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Don.